It's time. Thank you for tuning in to the Force Report. My name is T.D. Arnold, and my special guest today is entertainment attorney, CEO, and influential speaker, Amy Oraefo. As the owner and founder of Amy Oraefo PC, Amy serves as counsel for new and established businesses, entertainers, and content creators. She has negotiated millions in client deals in connections with brands such as iHeart, Kobalt Music, and Viacom.
I am the founding attorney of Amy Oraefo PC, a boutique law firm where I serve as general counsel for, content creators, entertainers, creatives, entrepreneurs, and I help to grow and protect their brands. We're talking intellectual property is important in our community, especially in our community as African Americans, to help protect your assets and create it, a portfolio of trademarks. Copyrights, you all leverage that, turn that to money, strategize, business strategy, I negotiate, go in there, advocate. One of my favorite things to say, I like to get you the most money for the least amount of commitment. So I negotiate deals on behalf of my clients.
Thank you for tuning into the Force Report podcast. I'm T.D. Arnold, and with me today, I have Amy Oraefo. How are you doing there?
I am doing well, Anthony. Thank you for having me.
I want to let people know she is an attorney, but she's not a criminal attorney, folks. She is attorney of entertainment, and she represents a lot of curious people in the entertainment field, as well as you do all kinds of things. And so I've known you for probably almost 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah.
Since I've been over to Taylor English, I still use you guys, and you were one of the first attorneys that sat down and schooled us, and you still do. And so I said, the first person I want to get on the show that's an attorney is going to be you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm honored. I appreciate that.
Yes, it's definitely the honor is mine. You're always traveling. I said, wow, we got to snag her as soon as when she lands. As soon as she lands, and when you told me that you're over in Africa for a minute.
I just went to Senegal. I got back trying to travel safely. I know it's COVID times, but I had to, do my research before going. But the irony is, tends to be a lot safer.
And your family, you have your family in Nigeria, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Nigeria. Okay. Matter of fact, I was supposed to be going to Nigeria, to Lagos,
yes,
for business.
Yep.
And COVID hit last year, and then and I got COVID, and then they kind of railroaded a few things. I still want to go there. There's some things that we want to do, but we'll talk about that, because I need your advice, of course, on that too. So let's get into this. You've been in you started law. What made you want to get into law? What was that something that was built in you when you were a child, or was it family? And what made this type of law most attractive to you?
Okay, so I will say this. I'll sort of work backwards in your question. So this type of law became attractive to me because, as I always like to say, in my former life, I was an artist. Some of my clients know this about me, some do not. I was a trained dancer. I danced for about 16 years. I thought I was going to pursue that professionally. I say thought because I was 18 years old. I applied for a couple of dance programs and did not get in. Obviously, the thought process behind that is when you do anything physical, whether it's a sport, whether it's dance, whether it's anything where you have a window of time and use your body. I was like, okay, I want to do that. And I had friends already that had, seen the world. That was their vehicle. They literally had traveled all over the world dancing. So I was like, oh my gosh, how cool would that be? So I did that, did not get into the couple of programs I applied to. So again, if I knew then what I know now, I would have put a little more fervor to it. But I was like, well, I guess that's a sign that, I don't need to do this dance thing. However, so I said I'm working backwards for that reason, to tell you the arts have always been in me, like it's ingrained.
Right.
But when I would probably say, an adolescent, so I would roughly say maybe 10 or 11, I can remember, saying, oh, this law thing seems cool. I didn't have a lawyer in my family. I didn't know what, but what I thought of advocacy, and again, at 10 or 11, what do you know about advocacy? I just thought, okay, I like to help naturally protect people and advocate for them. And I'm a problem solver and I'm naturally inquisitive. So what I thought an attorney did, and that's what attracted me to that table, that added to the arts. And that's how you got entertainment law. Literally, I'm an artist. So I tell people I'm a creative who happens to be a lawyer, not the other way around. So because of that, I approach everything from my law practice to, that's how you see me meandering and moving throughout the world safely. Because I'm a creative, right? And my soul is fed by those things. So to answer your question, I answered it backwards, but gave you a true essence of like who I am and how intentional this was as far as entertainment law. It's because I'm an artist. So who better to get artist advocacy than somebody who used to do it?
Wow. And folks, when we first met, and that was one of the things that when I remember being in the room with you, and there was other lawyers there who were great lawyers, but I knew there was something. I was like, oh, she knows her stuff. I mean, because I remember, we looked at each other and it was like, we were talking about publishing, and I said, all right, who around here knows publishing? Because I'm into publishing. So being a writer and a producer. So I said, as soon as you started talking about that, I said, oh, she knows. And I said to my partner, Dawn, I said, yeah, she knows her stuff. And I was sold right there. So, but so you got into it, you were in the arts as a dancer and putting all that together. And so it builds a sense of, I would say almost a trust for you and your clients, because now it's like, I can understand as an artist, and okay, she understands my pain. She understands that, what I'm dealing with as a creative. And so because you're a creative, and so that makes total sense. So when an artist, when they do come to you, what are some of the things that you say, whether it be a producer, whether the artist be, say, a writer or whatever? What are some of the things that you find, some of the questions that you get when you're in that first interview with that artist, or whether they're interviewing you or you're probably interviewing them too, brother?
Yes, I would say, oh, that's a good question, Tony. It's a few, but like I see what you, but common questions I get, it's, here's one thing I love about this role, and it's answering your question. It's people feel like they can let their guard down. So I may get some questions that to the outside maybe they may not be comfortable asking, but when they're talking, there's that fiduciary relationship between attorney and client. People are able to show you who they are. So I get questions that run the gamut to people who are like, I don't know about this deal, or what do you think? Like, so I'm saying all to say it's by the time, because this business, this, Tony, like this business is like so much about relationships, right? Of course, people want you to be competent. They want you to know what you're doing, but it's so much about like, if somebody's referring you, they'll co-sign, they'll do whatever. So when somebody's coming to me, I take it seriously because I'm grateful that it's a referral and there's some kind of relationship or reference point there. Because I often tell people somebody is not, generally speaking, they're not going online, on the internet just to Google entertainment attorney. They may, but generally speaking, there are relationships that exist there. There's a referral. I mean, if they are even there, they're gonna do their due diligence to check on the person. They're just not gonna pick a random attorney out of the sky. So I say that generally there's a layer of vetting that has gone on. So by the time I talk to the people the first time, they're like, okay, I'm in this scenario. This is what I expected out of this. This is what it's turning into. I'm a bit confused. They're able to be vulnerable, for lack of better. They're able to say, does this look good? Again, I put it back. I often say things to clients. I said, my opinion, your choice, right? So we talk through what that means, what that looks like. I can't tell you to get into a deal. Your life is not my life. Your expectations may not be, so we walk through it, we talk through it. And what is I'm vested. Tony, I've been literally in the 11th hour of deals that clients have pulled out of. So I've seen it both ways, so I've seen it go well, and I've seen it where they're like, this, like, I can't sleep, this doesn't feel well. And then they're saying that because, I mean, sometimes that's the case, sometimes it's not, because right around the corner, maybe meaning 6-9 months later, another opportunity came by, which made sense why that other one didn't feel well to them. You see what I mean? So things like that. So it's a personal relationship. So to your point, we choose each other. Anybody I work with, it has to be, we have to bet on each other, because we're going to have some very, intimate conversations and I'm dealing with somebody's money. I want you to trust me and know me, like, because I'm advocating for you as far as getting you, money compensation. And the goal, as I tell my clients, I want to help set people up for, passive income, residual income. So how are we going to do that?
Right. What I tell you, usually when I speak to, say, young artists that are in the business or getting ready to come into business, and we both, my business is in Atlanta, as you are.
Yes.
Atlanta is definitely almost pretty much from music now to film, the arts, everything. I mean, you don't have to go anywhere. It's like everyone is in that circle. But yet, when they're looking for that attorney, and I remember talking to someone about you, and that you were out of town, you were out of the country, and I referred you. I don't know if you got my referral. I said, hey, I know somebody. This is the person you need to go to. And what I do tell them is this. They say, how much does an attorney cost? That's what you usually do. How much is it?
I know. Which is a fair question, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, it's a fair question. I mean, especially for a young artist. And but I usually say, well, it's make sure you have the right questions.
Absolutely.
Set up. It's not like, I mean, I tell people, when you get in there, you kind of got to do your homework. And I usually what I usually try to tell people, especially artists that are writers, I say, kind of know a little bit of the business along with your attorney, and because it makes the time go smoother.
Absolutely.
But when the person, like, you got to school somebody on it, and then that well, am I right? Does that kind of
no, I mean, I'm nodding my head profusely because you're on point. Because it's not that you expect everybody, because nobody knows everything, right? But the expectation is that you've done your homework. You've invested in yourself as an artist. Because I tell everybody I work with, the criteria is this. They have expectations of me. I have expectations of them. I can't want this more than you. It's your career, right? So that goes at an underlying, as much as you can, your team is there to help facilitate your dreams. We cannot want it more than you. We being your attorney, your CPA, your personal manager, your publisher. If they want it more than you,
publicist, right? I mean,
if they want it more than you, go back to the drawing board. There's a problem. You should live, breathe, eat, sleep this, right? Like, it's Tony, like building your business and your brand and everything. If somebody wanted more than you, like you had the vision to do this podcast and the many other ventures you do, nobody can want it more to you. So again, there is that, I don't want to call it a challenge. There is that perspective and that homework I tell for artists. I was like, if you think that somebody else is supposed to take this and run with your vision, absolutely wrong. That's not the way it works.
Because I remember when my partners and I sat together with you and the rest of them, I remember it was you and Alan and you, and it was so, some people will be afraid of this. It's like, we came in there to set up one company.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember this.
I do. And
it was like
attorneys that do different things.
Yeah. And then you brought it up and you said, well, if this is a show, you're gonna have to, and it's dealing with music, you're gonna have to have a record company, you're gonna have to have your publishing. And I was already thinking of publishing automatically.
Yeah.
But you brought up record company, then you brought up IP, because it's not the issue of selling us more stuff than we didn't need. It was really to protect us in the future, just in case somebody comes after you.
Absolutely, Tony, because you know that in that capacity, it's record label, because if you're going to exploit the records on behalf of an artist, you need that arm. Then you need publishing, because if you're serving as a publisher, I tell people the easiest way I describe it is what the record label is for a music artist is what the publisher is for a songwriter. So you need to have somebody to exploit that. So that's one company. So we just mentioned two companies, like you said. And then it's there's a corporate law aspect that's there if you wanted to draft the operating agreement with the members include. included. Okay. So then there's the IP, right? So if you want to file the trademark for the name of the show or the name of the brand. So people, it's so funny, which I know you can appreciate this. They come to me or any other attorney. It happens. That's like a running joke between us, and they think we cover all aspects of the law. I'm like, no. So it's well, some people are generalists, and that's no problem, but they're general. I would tell you in entertainment, you usually have what's called silos. People sort of stay in their lane, meaning like the crux and the love of how I entered this business was through music. So that's where the majority of my clients are. So I must say I was a dancer by trade and by craft, but my first love has always been music. That was not the gifting I was given to be able to sing or anything, but that's always what drew me to the arts. It's always been, just a craft that I admired, a skill set that I admired. So that's what's drawn me. So with that, I represent music producers, I represent all that. So I'm always thinking, with the perspective of it's always about brand protection and growth. And then I bring a global perspective because my family's from Nigeria. I'm first generation American. So my brain is programmed to always think bigger and larger than US borders. So everything I do is attached to how can we potentially scale this globally.
My church is full of Nigerians. Trust me. I know Nigerian culture.
Yeah. You're aware of sort of how our minds process.
Yeah.
Like,
and I went to school with them. Howard University had a bunch of Nigerians going there. I was like, I can't escape. One of my best friends is in Atlanta is Nigerian. So it's funny because the Nigerian culture is definitely take no prisoners.
Yeah. It's very much, it's a hustle. Like it's very much a hustle. It's more, and especially add the layer to that, Anthony. Like my parents, I mean, just like a lot of that's the beautiful part about this country and America. A lot, the American dream. Like my parents came here and gave up everything. Who am I to tell them that something is hard? So for me, that's been the fuel behind me. It's like they literally, both my parents, my mother and my father, came here and not a soul, like they didn't have another family member, anything. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. They had us, raised us here. And I mean, try going to them and saying you had a hard day. Like, it's a matter of, right. And they never made us feel like that, but it's more of, that's where a lot of the drive came from. In addition to, the Nigerian culture, it's just, we're really proud people in the sense of not arrogant. Well, some of our fellow countrymen think otherwise, but don't believe them, you all. But we are just very confident in a culture. That's the best way to say it. So that transcends through each generation. So that's what we're leading with. So like you said, it's take no prisoners. It's like, try to figure it out. And then while you're there, pull some other people in as much as you can. So that's literally what I try to do when I'm working with folks. But again, goes back to sort of my approach. I can't do this by myself. You gotta give me something to work with, meaning new artist or whoever it is. Yes, I am on your team and other people are on your team. But again, if we are trying to advocate more, we're doing the homework more for you, we're pitching on your behalf, doing whatever the various roles, as much as we want to facilitate your vision, it is not our vision because we have our own respective visions in our careers. So I often tell people that, and somebody may or may not be a good fit for a respective person, but I tell them whichever way it goes, it's just like, invest in yourself, bet on yourself. That's the advice I always tell people, bet on yourself. And when you do, that changes your mindset and your approach and everything. And it will give you the longevity you're looking for in this business.
I'm amazed that because when I got into the industry, I started off as a musician. I was playing in, it was back many years ago. But my journey was I was a musician, but I went over to get in radio. And then I started learning about these royalties. They said, because when I first got in, they would tell me about program director, and they said, we got to make sure we keep count of all the songs that are played. I said, what for? These artists got to get paid.
Yep.
And I was like, that was my first introduction. I was really young, from coming out of Howard. Yeah. And then the next step was I met a friend of mine, and he was saying I was meeting a friend of mine for lunch, and he said he just got this job. It was back in the 90s. He was an agent with BMI.
Yep.
I said, what do you? I said, first of all, what's BMI? I didn't know what that was. He said, you're a songwriter, you don't know BMI? I was like, what do I need a BMI for? I said, I'm writing songs, I'm playing around. And he said, man, you need to protect your stuff, man. And so he showed me about, he said at that time they were going into the clubs, anyone who didn't have, and so share with us, with writers, the importance, or what is a PRO? Yes. What is the publishing, and how, I mean, do we find that most of these some artists or writers, I should say, and writers are missing that point today?
No, thank you. That's huge. That's step one. As far as, I often tell people, copyright is king. And I know you've heard this phrase 1,000 times before. Copyright is king because it goes back to what we're saying. Ownership. You all can't grant rights or give a license to things you don't own. So when you're writing a song as a songwriter, when you're also considered a songwriter as a producer. You all, if you hear people refer to you, if you're a producer, as a songwriter, then in the term of art, you are a songwriter. Right. So there's an artist and there's a songwriter. So if you write lyrics to a song, you're a songwriter. If you make production, you're a songwriter, a producer. So songwriters need to know, like, you own that copyright. Own all or as much of it as possible. I say all because if you're an independent artist and you are making the song, you're writing it. And let's just say you're blessed, you happen to be a songwriter, an artist, and a producer, which we know we see some of those combos, right? We have your Kanye West, we have various people who like can touch all facets of the song. You all, that, if you're an independent artist, is you keeping 100% of everything. Again, we know there are trade-offs. Once you sign to a major or sign to a label, you start to give away some rights and things. That's why I say keep all or most of your copyright, as much as you can, because the PRO, to go back to what Tony was saying, the PRO is a performance rights organization. So in the United States, there are 3 that are recognized: ASCAP, BMI, that Tony mentioned, and then CSAC. So what that means is, when your song is played in a club, like Tony was saying, in Starbucks, it's played on, so they use your song for American Idol, X Factor. If it's played on the radio, any public performance, these organizations go and collect on your behalf. So what that looks like Tony was referencing, is it means, hypothetically speaking, ideally, each venue should have a license with these respective performance rights organizations where fees are paid. And then every time a songwriter song is played, they will get whatever agreed upon set amount of license fee or royalty they will receive, actually. And then that's what they will get quarterly. So that's when you hear people reference mailbox money, when money used to come in a check by mail. Now everything's digital, it just goes into your bank account. But that is what the reference, that is one revenue stream, you all, performance rights royalties. Another revenue stream is mechanical royalties. Again, when songs used to be pressed on a 12-inch vinyl, there's an 8-track, there's a CD, you would hear the reference of it being pressed, meaning a physical press, like records being created. Now everything's digital. You hear a reference to a download, a stream. So that's the digital distribution, the component. That's a mechanical royalty. So then that's another revenue stream, you all. I'm telling you how much as a copyright owner you can get. Then we're not done yet, right? You know this. Yeah. Then you have sync opportunity. Somebody wants to use your song in a TV show, in a video game. Somebody wants to use your song in a movie, in a commercial, in an advertisement. That's another revenue stream. So all this is mentioned when I talk about the passion of letting people know that there is residual income. Yes, you also, it's a long end game, it can be. But the people who wait it out, who own it, those are the ones you see 10, 15, 20 years in this industry. And guess what? They're doing it not because they have to. They're doing it because they want to. They're creating generational wealth. Look at Marvin Gaye. He passed away how many years ago? The Gay Estate.
The Gay Estate.
Like
yeah. And I'm from DC, and I remember being in a situation where they were doing a Marvin Gaye day, and I was a participant in that. And the person that was running it, I know that his family came out and say, hold up, because I thought that they had their stuff together. Yeah. But within and happening, they were saying, if you play one more song for this event that you got, I mean, and I said, oh, you're not paying? I mean, I said, no, you got to settle that before. And I think it all got worked out, thank goodness. but I say, you know, you don't understand, this publishing stuff is serious business.
Yeah.
And I remember talking with an artist who's also a writer, and he signed under our publishing company, Extreme. And he asked me the question, so because he knows that I'm right. I said, well, if I write for the song, I said, look, man, I'd rather have 100 writers writing underneath our publishing company than me writing 100 songs under my publishing company.
Yep.
Can you explain that, why I said that?
Like Tony, what you just said was the law of multiplication. For you all, and I'll break it down. What he said.
Yes.
Because of what I just said,
Yes.
right? Because if Tony has signed 100 artists, he signed them as a publisher, and he's collecting on their behalf for each artist for all those revenue streams I just mentioned. That's why I call it the law of multiplication. Yes, he would be great if he wrote 100 songs. That would be dynamic as well. But he would collect, you know, those royalty streams that I mentioned just on his. But if he is doing that for others as the publisher, and if he goes into what's called a co-publishing agreement with each person, then he owns for X amount of time. Each agreement is different. Let's just say, for ease of example, there's a 5-year term in that agreement. If it's 5 years, then for 5 years, he gets to, you know, have that those co-publishing rights, and he's collecting all that. So every time, you know, the songwriter gets something, he too is getting something. Like, he's getting in every capacity, every sync license, every time there's a stream or download, every time it's played in Starbucks. So that's what he means by, you know, he's better off that way. And that, again, is what we call the law of multiplication.
It's working. Actually, it's working smarter. And I like, but no, I still write now. I'm working on a project now. But I mean, I think that it's good, because I talked to one of my son. I talked to him one day, and he's in school finishing up at Full Sail. Awesome. And he's a musician. And as he was going on, I kept on telling him about this publishing and licensing. And he said, you know, I kind of like this licensing and publishing deal.
Yep. Yep.
He's looking more, and now he's more focused on that, setting up his own LLC. And
tell him that's the way to go. I mean, not that there's any wrong way, you all, but like, learn different facets. Yeah. Tony and I are not saying that. We're just saying learn different facets of the business, because even if you are a front-facing artist or somebody that's talent, and you know, eventually all good things, no matter how great you are, must come to an end, right? In that capacity. So what are you gonna do? Like, have you learned the business? Are you becoming an exec? Are you gonna be a label owner? Are you gonna be a publisher? Because the goal is that you've learned enough of the business that you'll take that side as an artist, because who better to be on the business side than somebody who was an artist to live it? Imagine how much of a powerhouse you would be. So we're encouraging you all as creatives to don't hide your head in the sand. Learn the business. Yeah, you have your team as reinforcement, but don't let that be your cop out to say, oh yeah, they got it covered. Nope. Again, that's your career. Like, know it.
Record deals.
Yes.
I remember back in the day going up to New York, MCA Records.
Yes.
Back in the day, and trying to tout different talent that I was working with, because I was, even though I was a musician, but I had other groups I was working with. And it was working out these deals, you know, it was crazy deals. Now we're seeing with these television shows that, especially with dealing with music, like your Got Talent and stuff like that, and you're seeing these 360 deals. And I've heard people say, and see, it's hard for me to say because I'm biased, because I'm an artist and have a record company and I'm publishing, so I'm kind of biased. So I'm not the best person to say, but 360 deals, people say they're not good, don't get into them. But you know, it all depends. I tell people it all depends what you're getting out of it.
Yeah, I agree, and it's so difficult, Tony. You know, when people try to give you know, a scenario, and there's you know, one size does not fit all, especially in this business. you can put the same deal in front of two artists and they want two very different things. So I tell people it's really hard. So you said the classic lawyer answer. It depends, because a lot of times people comment their hypotheticals to you as a lawyer. You're like, I can't fully answer that question. I don't know all the facts. I don't know if somebody's signing to a major and potentially getting $100,000 is enough to make them shift and sign over certain things. For other people, no. For some people, they need that money and it could help change their current situation. So that may be a decision they make. Again, my opinion, their choice. But we're going to walk through what that looks like for their life. We're going to walk through how that may or may not make sense for them. And before they get to the finish line, whatever decision they decide, they'll be equipped with the information. That's the least I'll say as far as what I'm telling, about what's in the agreement. It's my job to go through sort of the granular that is the contract that, you get from a label that may be 50 or 60 pages, which are like, whew. But we're going to talk through the bigger picture, which is what matters. Like, what are your expectations out of this? Like, what do you want out of your career? Because an artist may talk, and sometimes they talk, you're like, oh, where you are right now, you do not want to major, right? Because once you talk to them, it may or may not make sense. So you say the 360 deal. That reference for you all who may or may not know that term is, before in the music industry, I don't know, it just used to be the music industry and people just used to collect from music income. But now things have changed. The sale of music slowed down a little bit, didn't stop. It's obviously still great, but comparable to previous decades.
Right.
Like, the sales just don't look like the way they used to.
Yeah, like the 90s. Yeah,
exactly. Like the 90s were the heydays, you will. Yeah. Like the 90s were incredible for music. Yeah. People were, you all hear the reference for the people like printing money. That was the time. Like, it was so much money being made then.
I mean, even music videos were costing almost like
$1 million.
Yeah. It's like, why can't I get that now?
Yeah, no, it's amazing, right? So the terms, to say that the terms have changed. So obviously the music record companies, picked up on that, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, we're not collecting music like we used to. What are other ways to connect? So they're saying, if we're giving you this, national and sometimes in some capacity international platform, then they're saying, okay, now we want a piece of things we never collected on. What does that look like, you all? Touring, publishing, you're talking merchandise, you're talking fan clubs, you're talking like catch-all. We call it a catch-all as lawyers. Like, the phrase is like any kind of appearance on TV, any book deal, anything that has to do with the symbols of entertainment. They want a piece of that. Obviously, there's something called carve-outs as a lawyer that, in a deal like that, I would try to carve out to say, yep, you can't touch this because my client came in with leverage or numbers here that you had nothing to do with. So that's when you come in with, to try to what are called carve outs. But that is the reference point that Tony is saying as far as the 360 deal, what that looks like. So now these business, these companies, music companies, record labels, they are a business. So they want their return on investment. And that's the way that they say they, get it a quicker return on their investment by doing a 360 deal.
COVID-19 has had a negative impact on the world. The music industry as well has been affected.
Everything froze and canceled and rescheduled and then canceled. The thing that I miss the most is hearing live music.
This COVID season that we're in, how in the world are we gonna make money? How do people make money? I mean, it's like, the touring is kind of stopped. Well, pretty much stopped.
Yeah.
You can't go international much anymore. Everything and so, but it's kind of interesting. I saw something a year ago, almost at the beginning of the middle of the COVID season. India Arie did now do you remember this? She did a concert online. She was pretty much, I guess, in her living room or someplace. And she was with her guitar, and she did like a concert, and she charged $1 per person, and got almost, I think it was 11 million.
Look at that! Look at that! So you say it, Tony. To answer your question, this has been an age of ingenuity. Like, but if you've heard people say during, some of the most tumultuous or trying times, that's when if you all think about it, certain inventions have popped up. So this is going to be a season, you know, by the grace of God, in the midst of all this going on, that a lot of beautiful things will come out of it. But to your point,
Right.
you all as artists, I've been inspired by the creativity I've seen in some of my clients in different matters. Of course, you know, people were trying to figure out what's going on in the world. Remember March, everything shut down. Everybody's like, what's happening? And then once everybody got past that, then the creativity has come out of the season. To your point, they're figuring out how to monetize things in a different way. So being more business savvy. So I found the rise of creatives becoming even more business savvy, which is, and I know there are exceptions to every rule, but across the board, because what do you say, that's business savvy, Tony? Right? Like to think about something like that, like, and they're making more. And guess what they don't have to do? They don't have to travel 200 days out of the year on a tour bus. And she, you know, brought in, you know, 11 million potential revenue. I'm sure there's some split somewhere as far as paying somebody using a platform, but still, let's say if she walked away with a $7 million payday, I would think that's an exceptional.
I will take it.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
yeah.
So it's, you know, so I just will say it's a season. You all get it. I know the ebbs and flows. We've all been going through it, but if you use this as look around and see, like, find a void and fill it. If that's your creativity, guess what people are doing now more than ever? We're consuming more content than ever, because guess what? We're not moving around as much as we used.
Well, you look at Netflix. You look at all, I mean, Netflix numbers went up. Amazon, even Hulu, which was low, it went up. It was like people got tired of watching Netflix. Oh, let me turn on Hulu.
There you go. So you're going, because guess what that means though, Tony? They need more content. People are hungry for content. So people, creatives, capitalize on the season. I know it's difficult, but figure out if there's a song, and because I'm a creative, I know what it feels like. And you can relate to what I'm about to say. There's a song that's been living in you. There's something that's in your head that when you sleep, it wakes you up, or there's something, concept you've been thinking about. Execute it. This is the time, because now it's time for content. Like now more than ever, we're in, at least for who knows, God knows, like how long, as far as this lockdown goes, until things are safe. But I'll say for the foreseeable future, people are inside still. We've been doing this almost a year now, you all. So now at this point, think about it. People are watching more TV, listening to more music than ever. Be a part of the contribution. Be one of those content creators to create that.
We did a video for Speech from Arrested Development. And the artist, I found out she was in Kenya. Yeah. And so it was very interesting. Here is this artist way over there in Kenya, where they videotape it over there, Media Fanatics. I was talking to Dawn. She said, "What's taking this video?" My partner, Dawn Rucker, what's taking the video so long? Well, the artist is the other artist is in Kenya. And so they're sending it to us. We're putting together a video that's one artist is on one side of the world. We're on the other side. We and put together great video, music, and matter of fact, the song was great. We just finished another song that was with another producer that's in the UK. Of course, COVID, none of us could come together. The other artist is in New York. The other artist is in Detroit. And then we had other people in South Carolina. It was like all these different, and we put together something that was like, you would think it was all together, but business still goes on.
Tell them, Tony. That's what I want people to understand. It still goes on. So, you know, you all, as much as you can, pull out of yourself. I understand that's a process, but realize that don't let anybody fool you. People have been doing some real serious business during this time. Like, it's been happening. What it allowed people to do that some of us had not really had the chance to do, especially in entertainment, is slow down a little bit. So you're moving, but like, as far as physically, you'll be jumping on some plane, going to some event, doing something, and it allows you to, and with that, that's great and that's productive, but in a different way. Your mind is open in different ways. So some of these, you know, creative concepts and aspects are common, or even could be as simple as following up with somebody from there. You don't know if they're looking for a song for a particular sync opportunity, or to do what you said, Tony. They need production services or producing service. Production meaning one of two things, on the TV and film production side, or it could be music production. You don't know until you have the conversation. And you know, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in divine time. And I say it all the time. It's somebody was like, "Oh my gosh, I was just looking for this." And because you happen to send a text message, an email, or you called, boom, there's an opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, even this right now, this is giving someone a divine appointment. You're giving someone, like, you were just coming back from Senegal.
Yeah.
I texted you and said, hey, you want to be on this thing? Hey, let's do it. Set it up. And it was kind of funny. I got kind of sidetracked. You said, hey, now Tony, where those questions?
I know, just because I want to come, this is how serious I take it. Like,
I know
I
you
want
do.
to know, like, you know, just even if it's, and all I needed to do was glance, but just to know so I'm better equipped, because we use this, like I call it all the time, it's a ministry, right? Like, it's a platform.
I know.
I don't leave a place, just like I know that's why you have a podcast. I want people to leave empowered. I want you to be fired up to know that, yeah, it felt real difficult, but by the time you finish listening to this, it's attainable. So with that, I like to come, you know, as prepared as possible so we can be the vessels we need to be.
I believe it, and that's why I was. And when I saw you sent that to me, you said, if we're gonna have to reschedule this, I said, oh no, we not. I said, I stopped exactly. You see how fast I send that back to you?
Yeah, no, and I appreciate it. And I know everybody gets swamped. And we could, you know, we flow well, so we can go on the whim. I just wanted to make sure if there's some nuanced question, which sometimes there is, that it's time that I sit and think about it. Because back to the point, one thing COVID and this pandemic, I hope, has helped people do is sort of sit in things. We move so, and I'm a work in progress of some things. My head and everything moves so fast. It's like, but sometimes you sit in things and you digest it, and then it comes out even better than the way, you know, we, especially in America, everything just is so, you know, instant gratification, move fast. It was like, sit in it sometimes, right? Like, just take time to like see how something feels, and I promise you the results will be better.
As I've gotten older, I've learned that, and I'm still learning that. It's just it's like I all the stuff that you want. I like to let it savor a little bit. It doesn't have to be rushed right then and there. I want to think through the process, and when that time comes, God brings it. So with that said, I mean, first of all, I want to thank you so much for being on the show, the podcast. I want to have you on again because you know there's many questions. So that we have not even, we just touched the surface on a lot of things. So definitely want to have you on again. I appreciate your time. And is there anything you want to share extra that you may to leave with the audience?
Yes, you all, like I said, please, I know it sounds like a tagline, but it's the truth. Invest in yourself. That means different things. Bet on yourself. Tony and I and lots of others, if we sat here, it'll take all night to tell you the kinds of sacrifices that were made, the failures that occurred. So please don't look and think what you think you see is whatever. Like, it's a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice. So my parents always say, you know, delayed but not denied. You know, so all you need is one person to say yes, or for that door to be open. And, you know, look, I'm a woman of faith. It's all, like I said, divine timing, and, you know, God's time, a lot of prayer, a lot of blood, a lot of sweat, a lot of tears. And if you stay at it long enough, I promise you'll get results that you could not even dream of.
All right. And that's why I say my Nigerian sister here and all my Nigerian people of faith at my church, they keep me in prayer. They kept me in prayer when I had COVID. And so you know, that I definitely am appreciative to what you do, and this inspiration that you've given that comes from, that's God given. So that's, I mean, we don't take that lightly. So if people listen to what this woman is saying, because she has great wisdom, and she travels all over the world giving this knowledge, and it comes at a high price, not just monetarily, but it's at a high, I mean, it will benefit you, and it will give you rewards. And sure enough, I'm still here today because, I mean, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I could have been if I didn't take your advice.
When I tell you, that's a whole testimony right there.
You know, I'm not where I could have been, and Dawn, my partner, and Ridge will say the same. Dawn Rucker, my partner, and Ridge Beck, they would say the same thing, that taking the advice that you've given years ago and still continue to give us, as our attorney, we do appreciate you.
Thank you.
And much love goes out to you.
Thank you. Likewise.
When you said that we get personal, it's a personal thing. We know each other, we friends, and so it's just.
And thank you for what you're doing, and people are doing. I tell people, when you operate in integrity, there's always enough for people out there. So you're trying to facilitate it the right way with artists. And thank you for this platform. What you're doing. We need to edify each other more. So thank you.
You have a great day.
Thanks. My gift is to encourage and empower and help unlock, activate something in people. There needs to be a shift in some capacity. And I enjoy it.